Chapter 124. About 5 minutes later, she still had not come out. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. Did she need so much time to put on 2 sets of clothes? Could it be that a woman's clothes were more complicated than a man's? Gu Yanhao felt that it was impossible. Oh, he had almost forgotten that her hand was injured. Gu Yanhao suddenly curled his lips into a charming smile. He got up and strode over to the bathroom with his long, straight legs. He raised his hand and knocked on the door gently. Song Wuyo, who was in the bathroom, panicked when she heard the knock on the door. "What is it?" she asked anxiously. "Do you need so long to take a shower?" Gu Yanhao's deep voice came through the door. "I'm done." Song Wuyo blurted out in a moment of panic. She said something she did not want to say. "Why aren't you coming out?" "Squatting in the toilet." Let her squat slowly. But, did she need to squat for so long? 5 minutes later, Song Wuyo still had not come out. Gu Yanhao knocked on the door again. "Song Wuyo, if you don't come out, I'll break in." "Gu Yanhao, you're so annoying." Song Wuyo was not squatting in the toilet, but she could not put on her underwear. "If you don't come out, I'll do something even more annoying." Gu Yanhao smiled and waited patiently at the door. "Help me call the nurse." Song Wuyo wanted to cry but had no tears. Gu Yanhao frowned when he heard that. "What's wrong with you? Don't ask so many questions." "Help me call the nurse, a female nurse." "There are only female nurses in this hospital," Gu Yanhao said. Song Wuyo specifically asked for a female nurse. Gu Yanhao immediately knew what was going on. The sound of water had stopped for so long, but she still had not come out. She must be unable to put on her clothes. "Hurry up and call the nurse for me." "Okay." Gu Yanhao curled his lips and smiled charmingly. Just then, a nurse came to check on the ward. Gu Yanhao hooked his finger at the nurse. When the nurse saw Gu Yanhao's perfect smile and how handsome he was, she blushed and walked over. "Someone is looking for you inside." Gu Yanhao pointed inside. The nurse was confused. Someone was looking for her inside. Gu Yanhao knocked on the door. Song Wuyo, the nurse. Song Wuyo, who was inside, did not believe her. "You're lying. How can it be so fast?" Hearing Song Wuyo's voice, the nurse smiled sweetly and asked with concern, "Miss Song, do you need my help?" Upon hearing that it was really a nurse, Song Wuyo opened the door with a click. Who knew? Gu Yanhao, you're cheating. When Song Wuyo saw that the person who came in was Gu Yanhao, she used her uninjured hand to grab the clothes on the rack to cover her body. Gu Yanhao blocked the door and looked at Song Wuyo with a half-smile. "You can't put on your clothes?" he asked knowingly. She had already put on her pants. Song Wuyo blushed and said shyly, "Get out." "Can you put on your clothes if I go out?" Gu Yanhao looked at her, amused. Song Wuyo looked indifferent to hide her embarrassment. "Let the nurse in and I can put them on." "If the nurse can do it, why can't I?" Gu Yanhao found it funny. "You're a man. I'm your husband." After a moment of silence, she stared at Gu Yanhao. "I'll do it myself." "If you can do it yourself, you won't be locked up here for so long." Gu Yanhao smiled. So awkward. But that was also the truth. She really couldn't do it herself. "I'll help you." Gu Yanhao took the clothes from the rack with one hand and removed Song Wuyo's hand that was covering her body with the other. Although they had been married for a long time, Song Wuyo was so embarrassed that her face was red and hot. She even felt like dying. Gu Yanhao looked down and his gaze deepened. Sensing his gaze, Song Wuyo glared at him fiercely. That fierce gaze of hers seemed as though she wanted to eat him up. What are you looking at? Hurry and help me put it on. Song Wuyo turned around. Gu Yanhao came back to his senses and shifted his gaze away quickly. So, you have such a mesmerizing figure, he teased. I'm cold. Song Wuyo raised her voice. Gu Yanhao laughed. But I'm feeling hot. Although he was a hooligan, his actions were upright. He helped her put on her clothes. The man's hand was warm, and Song Wuyo's heart skipped a beat. Song Wuyo's left hand was injured and was in a cast. It was really inconvenient for her to put on clothes. Gu Yanhao leaned over and gently lifted her injured hand. He gently helped her put on her underwear. When his hand touched Song Wuyo's there, she shuddered all over. She turned her head and stared at him. Don't be nervous. I'm just helping you put on your clothes. I won't do anything else. Gu Yanhao said with a charming smile. His voice was low and hoarse. His gaze couldn't help but look at her round breasts. Song Wuyo was speechless. Could it be that he wanted to do something else? Your chest shape is not bad. You're well developed. He put on her cup size. Song Wuyo's face was full of shyness. You look very cute like this. Gu Yanhao pinched Song Wuyo's rosy cheeks. Song Wuyo looked at him coldly. This is the first time you said I'm cute. In the past, you always said I'm hateful. When Gu Yanhao heard that, his gaze deepened. He asked shamelessly, really? I don't remember. Chapter 125. Men are all like this. They always forget what they've said. Song Wuyo looked at him with disdain. Gu Yanhao took her shirt and helped her put it on. It's done. Gu Yanhao had a serious look on his face. The unsatisfied look on his face disappeared very quickly. Song Wuyo turned around and was about to leave the room. Gu Yanhao held her hand. Let me carry you. Song Wuyo was a little angry. It's just a few steps. I'm not an old woman. The doctor said that you can't do strenuous exercise. I'll walk gently. It's not strenuous exercise. Song Wuyo was speechless. She turned her head and looked at Gu Yanhao casually. Then she walked out of the room. Gu Yanhao looked at her back view and was puzzled for a moment. This woman, Song Wuyo dried her hair and lay on the bed. From the beginning to the end, Gu Yanhao sat by the side and looked at her deeply. She came out of the bathroom, dried her hair, and lay on the bed. This woman did not take the initiative to talk to him. Gu Yanhao looked at her. Had she really let go of him? Song Wuyo was resting on the bed, but she was not sleepy at all. She stared at the ceiling with a bored expression on her face. Can't sleep? Gu Yanhao asked. Yes, Song Wuyo replied casually. Song Wuyo, let's talk. Gu Yanhao crossed his long legs. Song Wuyo turned and looked at him, puzzled. What do you want to talk about? I asked Ade to investigate Dongfang Xian. Gu Yanhao's eyes were fixed on her face. He did not want to miss any expression on her face. Song Wuyo's heart skipped a beat, but her expression was calm. Oh, Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. Don't you want to know the result? Song Wuyo looked at him indifferently. Have you found anything? What was the result? Dongfang Xian, the emperor of the Axe dynasty. Song Wuyo's brain suddenly buzzed. Although she tried very hard to control the expression on her face in front of Gu Yanhao. However, Gu Yanhao's sharp eyes still caught her, narrowing her eyes when she heard this sentence. Gu Yanhao saw that she had an unusual expression after hearing his words, and his eyes became deeper. Could she really be? This result is really unexpected. Song Wuyo smiled and said calmly. Yeah, why isn't there anyone called Dongfang Xian in modern times? Gu Yanhao's tone was relaxed, but there was a trace of bewilderment in his heart. Maybe this name doesn't sound nice at all. Song Wuyo pursed her lips. Gu Yanhao pretended to agree. Yes, this name doesn't sound nice at all. There are very few people with the surname Dongfang. Song Wuyo was silent. Song Wuyo, before you fainted, you said something to me. Gu Yanhao looked straight at her. Song Wuyo was slightly stunned. What did you say? Dongfang Xian, please don't kill my entire family. Song Wuyo's pupils shrank. Gu Yanhao smiled. I've checked. There isn't a single game where the main character is called Dongfang Xian. Song Wuyo blinked and looked at Gu Yanhao indifferently. What did he want to say to her? Gu Yanhao smiled and looked at her. Tell me, what is the name of the online game that I usually play? Song Wuyo felt guilty. I play many online games. Is that so? Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows and smiled ambiguously. I'm so sleepy. Don't disturb me. I want to sleep quietly. Song Wuyo turned her back to Gu Yanhao. Song Wuyo frowned slightly. Was he suspicious? Chapter 126. She did not expect that Gu Yanhao would be so smart to find out about Dongfang Xian. Song Wuyo bit her lower lip. Was it because of what she said before she fainted that made him suspicious? Song Wuyo now regretted letting go of the horse's reins. She was simply courting death. She knew that this body was still very weak, so why did she let herself fall from the horse's back? Look, look. Not only was she hospitalized, but he did not suspect her. Look, look. She wanted Gu Yanhao to blame Song Zhuyue, but he did not blame Song Zhuyue at all. He liked Song Zhuyue so much. Why would he blame her for plucking his ponytail? Song Wuyo felt that it was really not a rational thing to do to shoot herself in the foot. Behind her, Gu Yanhao, who had his legs crossed, stared at her intently. His eyes became deeper and deeper. That night, Song Wuyo did not sleep much. Gu Yanhao did not sleep much either. One lay on the bed, and the other lay on the sofa. In a daze, it was dawn. As soon as the sky outside the window turned white, Gu Yanhao suddenly sat up from the sofa. His sharp eyes narrowed slightly, and he raised his eyebrows. He, who was in a daze and did not sleep much, actually had a dream. He had a very strange dream. He dreamed that he was the emperor of X dynasty, and Song Wuyo was imperial concubine Song. Cough, cough. Song Wuyo's cough pulled Gu Yanhao back from his daze. Gu Yanhao looked up and looked at Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo curled up and coughed non-stop. She was in a daze and could not sleep because her mind was in a mess. Once she fell asleep, she would have all kinds of strange dreams. When it was almost dawn, her throat would itch, and her cough would feel better. Cough, 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 cough. Hearing her strange coughing, Gu Yanhao suddenly stood up and strode over. He leaned over to support her shoulders, which were trembling from coughing. Song Wuyo. With this touch, Gu Yanhao was startled. His hand suddenly reached for her forehead. She had a high fever. Gu Yanhao turned her around. Sure enough, her face was burning red. You have a fever. Gu Yanhao's deep eyes flashed with a touch of worry. So he was running a high fever. No wonder his head felt so uncomfortable and he kept having weird dreams. I'll call the doctor. Gu Yanhao helped her sit on the bed and pressed the call button with his other hand. Uncomfortable. Song Wuyo leaned against his chest and murmured in a low voice. You'll be fine when the doctor comes. Gu Yanhao's heart ached for her. His hands gently touched her forehead and face. Cough, cough. Song Woo-yo coughed again. She looked up with difficulty and glanced at Gu Yenhao. Seeing his nervous and distressed eyes, she smiled and asked weakly, "Are you concerned about me? You're my wife. If I don't care about you, who should I care about? Gu Yenhao, haven't you always hated me and wanted to divorce me?" Gu Yenhao raised his eyebrows. Silly woman. If he had always hated her, would he have married her? You're running a high fever and you still have the mood to care about these things. Last night, I had a very strange dream. Gu Yenhao's heart tightened. What dream? I died and my soul went to another world. Nonsense. Gu Yenhao growled. Death is death. How can there be a soul? Song Woo-yo smiled bitterly. It's just a dream, dreams are always the opposite. You dreamt that you died, which means you'll recover and be discharged soon. I hope so. Soon, the doctor on duty arrived. He thoroughly checked Song Woo-yo's body. Chapter 127. Song Woo-yo's fever was caused by an infection in the wound on her arm. It was dislocated, a flesh wound, and an infection. This result made Gu Yenhao very puzzled. She was already in a cast. How could there be an infection? Could it be that Song Woo-yo with the cast when she took a shower last night? After the doctor left, Gu Yenhao looked at Song Woo-yo. You're not allowed to take a shower tonight. I don't plan to take a shower tonight. She had a fever. Why would she take a shower? After a while, the nurse brought the oral medicine and 4 drip. Gu Yenhao personally fed Song Woo-yo the medicine. The nurse helped her with the 4 drip and cleaned her wound. Looking at her red and swollen elbow and blood flowing out of the wound, Gu Yenhao's eyes darkened. It must be very painful to be so swollen, right? A touch of coldness flashed through his eyes. Damn woman. After the nurse cleaned the wound, she put the cast on again. After the nurse went out, Song Woo-yo lay on the bed for the 4 drip. Her eyes were empty as she looked at the liquid in the medicine bottle, dripping drop by drop from the transparent tube. What are you thinking about? Gu Yenhao asked in a low voice. Nothing, Song Woo-yo answered lightly. Do you want to eat something? My mouth is bitter and bland. I don't want to eat anything. No. Gu Yenhao's expression was serious. You have to eat something even if you have no appetite. If you don't eat, it will be difficult for your body to recover. Then why are you asking me? You can just buy me something to eat. Song Woo-yo did not want to talk at all. Millet porridge. Gu Yenhao asked. Yes. Anyway, her mouth was bitter and bland. Anything she ate would be tasteless. I'll go out and buy it now. Gu Yenhao got up and grabbed the coat on the sofa. Lie down obediently and don't move. Before he left, Gu Yenhao reminded her worriedly. Song Woo-yo could not help but roll her eyes. She was on an 4 drip. How could she move? About 3 minutes after Gu Yenhao left, Magoo came. He came in with a brown food box. Not seeing Gu Yenhao, he asked in surprise, "Where's Ah-ho?" He went out to buy porridge for me. Song Woo-yo looked at him and frowned slightly. Magoo stood in front of the bed, waving the food box in his hand, and asked with a bright smile, "Woo-yo, guess what delicious food I gave you?" Song Woo-yo was feeling unwell because of her high fever, so she said indifferently, "Beggar's chicken." Magoo was shocked. How did you know? Song Woo-yo smiled faintly. I smelled it. Magoo was surprised. You smelled it? He put the food box close to his nose and sniffed. My packaging is so good that there's only a faint smell. You can smell it even like this. Your nose is really sharp. Magoo took out the lunchbox, his peach blossom eyes twinkling. Try it quickly. See if the beggar's chicken I made is delicious. The moment the lid of the lunchbox was opened, a familiar smell wafted into her nose. Song Wuyo's heart skipped a beat. She turned her head and stared at the beggar's chicken in the lunchbox. The color and smell were all very familiar. It was the same as what she had made in her previous life. I've opened it up. It's more convenient for you to eat it piece by piece. Magoo raised the lunchbox in front of Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo's eyes were misty as she looked at the chicken in the lunchbox with mixed feelings. You know how to make beggar's chicken too. Song Wuyo's throat was a little choked up. It's such a simple thing. Why wouldn't I know how to make it? Magoo saw that she was on an 4 drip, so he picked up a piece and brought it to her mouth. The chicken in front of her made Song Wuyo, who had no appetite to begin with, swallow her saliva. She knew that she shouldn't eat chicken when she was running a high fever. However, she missed this taste. She couldn't help but open her mouth and eat the chicken that Magoo fed her. How is it? Magoo's peach blossom eyes twinkled with a smile of anticipation. Gu Yanhao's cold gaze had a hint of jealousy that Song Wuyo couldn't detect. His gaze was fixed on Song Wuyo's face. Are you close to Magoo? Not close, but there's a sense of familiarity, Song Wuyo said. What do you mean by familiarity? Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao as if she was looking at an idiot. This man didn't even know what familiarity was, right? Regret that we didn't meet earlier, Song Wuyo explained simply. Chapter 129. Gu Yanhao's eyes narrowed when he heard that. Regret that we didn't meet earlier. He enunciated these words coldly. Song Wuyo smiled innocently. It's easier to be with him than with you. Gu Yanhao's deep eyes became very sinister when he heard that. Song Wuyo's body recovered well, so she was discharged after a week. The hospital was not far from Magoo's ranch, but after she was discharged, Gu Yanhao refused to go to the ranch. He drove Song Wuyo directly back to his Dijiang villa. This week, Magoo came to the hospital every day to see Song Wuyo. Seeing Song Wuyo talking and laughing with Magoo, Gu Yanhao got angry. Every time he thought of what she said, that it was easier to be with Magoo than with him, Gu Yanhao's lungs almost exploded with anger. They were not allowed to meet again in the future. However, many things often went against one's wishes. On the 5th day after returning to the villa, Gu Yanhao received an invitation from Muaxian. At the end of this month, it was Muaxian's 20th birthday. Magoo loved this sister very much. He was preparing to hold a grand birthday party for his only sister. On the invitation, it was stated that he would be going with Song Wuyo. After Gu Yanhao read the invitation, he threw it into the garbage bin. In his opinion, Magoo inviting him to Muaxian's birthday party was fake. He really wanted to see Song Wuyo. This damn Magoo, how dare he peek at his woman. Gu Yanhao crossed his slender legs and leaned lazily on the sofa. He raised his head and looked at the 2nd floor. His gaze became very deep. Song Wuyo, Ade walked in with a document bag in his hand. Seeing Gu Yanhao sitting on the sofa in a daze, she hesitated whether to call him. Ade followed Gu Yanhao's gaze and looked up. That was the 2nd floor. Ade was smart enough to know who Gu Yanhao was distracted by. Ade just didn't understand. When did young master become so concerned about young madam's matters? Ade hesitated again and again, but still came forward and softly called out, "Young master." Since young master was so concerned about young madam's matters, he must be interested in young madam's matters. Hearing Ade's voice, Gu Yanhao slowly retracted his gaze and looked coldly at Ade. Young Madam and Mrs. G. Ayer's DNA report is out. Ade saw that Gu Yanhao was no longer distracted, so he did not beat around the bush and directly presented the report. Gu Yanhao anxiously took the folder and took out the report. He did not look at the process, only the results. His gaze landed on the results column. When he saw the number, his pupils constricted. Song Wuyo and Mrs. G. Air were actually. Gu Yanhao's eyes were filled with unconcealable shock. What's the relationship between Mrs. G. Air and Yang Xiaolan? After a long while, Gu Yanhao's eyes calmed down and he asked Ade in a deep voice. Ade came prepared and replied, Yang Xiaolan was originally a rich young lady and had a good relationship with Mrs. G. Air. Later, the Yang family went bankrupt, Father Yang jumped off a building in debt, and Mother Yang remarried. The 20-year-old Yang Xiaolan could only go out to work to earn a living. Because of her enemies, no regular company dared to hire Yang Xiaolan. Yang Xiaolan could not find a job and needed to earn a living, so she could only become a dancer at the nightclub. Yang Xiaolan was beautiful and had a good figure. When Song Nan saw her, he was infatuated with her. In order not to continue being a dancer, Yang Xiaolan became Song Nan's mistress. Chapter 130. Song Nan treated Yang Xiaolan very well. After knowing that she was pregnant, he even specially hired a nanny to take care of her daily life. In the end, she secretly gave birth to a baby girl behind Mrs. Song's back. Unfortunately, this baby girl died on the third day of birth due to severe meningitis and hydronephrosis. At this moment, Mrs. G. Who had not been in contact for a long time, took the initiative to come looking for her. Following her was a baby girl who was less than a week old. Before Yang Xiaolan gave birth, Song Nan was in England discussing business, so Song Nan did not know that his daughter had died long ago. The baby girl who was brought over by G. to replace Song Nan's daughter was Song Wuyo. Gu Yanhao asked despite knowing the answer. Ade nodded and looked at Gu Yanhao. Yes. Gu Yanhao gripped the report in his hand tightly and said coldly, the DNA of Mrs. G. and Song Wuyo proves that they are mother and daughter. Ade did not say anything. He knew that his young master usually had something to say at this time. Sure enough, Gu Yanhao raised his head and looked at Ade coldly. Where's the man? Who is the man who made Mrs. G. pregnant? Ade said, I found out that Mrs. G. was already General Cheng's fiancée before she gave birth to the child. But at that time, Mrs. G. did not like General Cheng. She liked the former president. Unfortunately, the former president was already married, so she was willing to secretly interact with the former president. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. So, Song Wuyo is the daughter of the former president and Mrs. G. Ade was not too sure. Because the former president has already passed away and his body has been cremated, we can't take a DNA sample. Gu Yanhao narrowed his eyes. Doesn't he have a son who's locked up in a mental hospital? Ade was ashamed when he heard this. Thank you for your reminder, young master. Gu Yanhao's eyes were cold. You need to use your brain more when you do things. Ade lowered his head. Thank you, young master. Gu Yanhao turned his head and glanced coldly at Ade. Stop thinking with your lower body. When Ade heard this, he cried bitterly in his heart, I didn't, young master. Song Wuyo sat on the bed in a daze. To be precise, she was thinking about life. She didn't like the feeling of idleness. He was no different from a walking corpse. Gu Yanhao came in and saw her sitting on the bed in a daze. He raised his eyebrows. He stood beside her, looking down at her. What was she thinking? Why was she so engrossed in it? Song Wuyo, go to the hospital to change your dressing and have dinner, Gu Yanhao said. Song Wuyo did not respond. What are you thinking about? Gu Yanhao suddenly wanted to know her inner world. Gu Yanhao furrowed his eyebrows. Was she so engrossed in her thoughts? Song Wuyo. Gu Yanhao raised his pitch. She was actually so engrossed in her thoughts that she did not pay attention to his words. The feeling of being left out was really unpleasant. Gu Yanhao knocked on Song Wuyo's forehead. His strength was not light. Song Wuyo finally came back to her senses. She touched her aching forehead, looked up and stared at Gu Yanhao unhappily. Why did you hit me? Gu Yanhao looked at her coldly. Do you know how much I've talked to you? Song Wuyo gave a sarcastic smile. I didn't beg you to talk to me. You obviously saw that I was thinking about life, yet you still talk to me. Aren't you bored? Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows, his gaze deep. Thinking about life? Song Wuyo looked at him provocatively. Can't I? Chapter 131. You don't need to think about your life. Gu Yanhao sat down in front of her. I don't like this feeling of idleness. Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao indifferently. In her previous life, she had been locked up in the cold palace for a long time. It was simply torture. Every day felt like a century. Emptiness, paleness, emptiness, desolation, and happiness. But she had no choice. She couldn't leave and couldn't escape. It was different now. This world was richer than her previous one. She could use work to fill up her boring life. She felt that it was time to go out and work. However, the original owner was a lazy worm and didn't know how to do anything. It seemed that only the Ame group and the Gu clan group could go. She had been considering whether to go to the Gu clan group or the Ame group just now. Gu Yanhao looked up and gently pinched her chin. He smiled. I promised you that I would go to the Gu clan. I won't go back on my word. Her left hand was dislocated. Although she didn't need to stay in the hospital, it hadn't fully recovered and she couldn't work for the time being. Song Wuyo smiled lightly. What if I go to the Ame group? When Gu Yanhao heard this, his eyes suddenly darkened. You can try. When Gu Yanhao found out that Madame Ji Er had also been invited to Mushin's birthday party by Migu, he changed his mind. He called Migu. Gu Yanhao, I want an invitation card to Mushin's birthday party. Migu, didn't I give it to you? Gu Yanhao, I threw it away. Migu, threw it away. Ah ho, you don't respect me and Mushin too much, do you? Gu Yanhao, Migu, no matter what, we are brothers. 30 years ago, the Mu family was as rich as a country. Gu Yanhao, you have the nerve to bring up what happened 30 years ago. Migu, why wouldn't I dare? Mu Axayan and I are hosting a banquet. If we don't invite them, who wouldn't come? Even the president and the general will attend for the sake of the Mu family. How dare you throw away my invitation card? Gu Yanhao, are you giving it to me or not? Migu, yes, yes, yes. I'll personally deliver it to you. She was really afraid of this man. Before hanging up, Migu asked, Wuyo doesn't have a cold or a fever, right? Gu Yanhao said with a cold face, do I need you to care about my wife? Migu said, I'm not controlling her. I'm just concerned about her. My woman doesn't need your concern. It's true that Wuyo is your wife, but she and I are friends. Who's your friend? He probably had bad intentions, right? Wuyo and I are friends. I'll get Ade to get the invitation card. She didn't want him to stay here and refused to leave. Stingy. Migu despised Gu Yanhao very much. As soon as he hung up the phone, he saw Song Wuyo appear at the stairs. She held on to the handrail and walked down step by step. Her steps were elegant and her posture was dignified. Gu Yanhao was stunned for a moment. I'll take you to Mu Xian's birthday party next week. Gu Yanhao's gaze wandered over Song Wuyo's body, thinking about what dress she would look good in. A party? Yes. Gu Yanhao asked, what color do you like? Song Wuyo looked at him. Why are you asking this? Gu Yanhao was puzzled. Of course it's to buy you a dress. Every year, Mu Xian's birthday party was very big. Those who were invited were all upper-class society and big officials. He didn't want his wife to be worse than other women. No need, Song Wuyo said lightly. Chapter 132. What do you mean you don't need it? Do you have a gown? Gu Yanhao's eyes were cold. I'll make it. It's too late. It's next week. Song Wuyo frowned and looked down at her hand, which was still in a cast. Gu Yanhao naturally understood her action. The cast and board can be removed in 3 days. Purple, Song Wuyo said. Okay, Gu Yanhao replied and dialed a number. Send me all the latest purple gowns in the store. Gu Yanhao thought for a moment and added, except for the ones designed by Song Juyue. Song Wuyo raised her eyebrows and looked at Gu Yanhao in surprise. He didn't want her to wear a gown designed by Song Juyue. Song Wuyo's gaze was cold. He felt that she wasn't worthy of wearing a gown designed by Song Juyue, right? After all, Song Juyue's name was well known in the design world. Gu Yanhao hung up the phone. He could clearly sense that when he mentioned Song Juyue, Song Wuyo's eyes darkened. He looked at her deeply. Song Juyue will also attend this party. Song Wuyo replied indifferently. If you wear a gown designed by her, Song Juyue will definitely be smug with her arrogant personality. Song Wuyo smiled sarcastically and looked at Gu Yanhao indifferently. So, you're thinking for me. Gu Yanhao curled his lips and smiled ambiguously. What do you think? Big sister, I just received news that Song Wuyo will also attend Mushin's birthday party. Song Jiumei rushed into Song Juyue's room angrily. Song Juyue was admiring the clothes she designed when Song Jiumei's voice suddenly interrupted, making Song Juyue unhappy. Song Juyue put down the dress in her hand, turned around, and glared at Song Jiumei sternly. Can you stop being so flustered? Song Jiumei was flustered by Song Juyue's stern gaze. She pursed her lips and said aggrievedly, I just wanted to tell you that Song Wuyo will also be attending Mushin's birthday party. Song Juyue looked at her coldly. And then? Do you think I'm an idiot? Do you think I didn't expect Song Wuyo would attend Mushin's birthday party? Song Jiumei was surprised. Big sister, you already knew. Young Master Gu and Migu are good friends, and now young Master Gu is infatuated with Song Wuyo. Will young Master Gu bring Song Wuyo to the party? Song Juyue's gaze was cold. Big sister, what should we do? Song Jiumei looked at Song Juyue. Are we going to let Song Wuyo continue being so smug? Of course not. Song Juyue's eyes flashed with determination. I heard that Migu invited many celebrities this time. I have to make good use of this opportunity and let everyone see Song Wuyo's true colors. Song Juyue gritted her teeth in hatred at the thought of running naked with Migu at the ranch. She must get back this humiliation from Song Wuyo. Big sister, do you have a way? Song Jiumei's eyes lit up as she looked at Song Juyue expectantly. Song Juyue looked at Song Jiumei deeply. After a while, she said, do as I say. Get ready. After hearing Song Juyue's words, Song Jiumei's eyes flashed, and her lips curled up. She smiled coldly and said, okay, big sister. I'll definitely do this well. Big sister, the style of this dress is a bit like the one from the winner of the previous competition. Song Jomei's gaze landed on the dress on the bed. I don't know who the designer of that dress is. I'll probably make it and give it to Mushin. Chapter 133. Song Jomei picked up the dress and admired it. It's very similar to that piece. Song Joyue raised her chin arrogantly. I'm so good at making clothes. Of course I can imitate it well. Mushin will definitely like it. Song Jomei smiled. Whether she likes it or not, I don't care so much. Migu said that she likes the winner's work very much, but we don't know who the designer is. Song Joyue's eyes were a little dazed. If I know who she is, I will definitely learn retro design from her. Song Jomei smiled. That's right. The Gu clan has been focusing on retro designs for the past 2 years. If you stand out in this aspect, young Master Gu will definitely look at you differently. Mushin's birthday party was held on a luxurious yacht. The yacht was beautifully packaged, and the people who came to attend the party were all celebrities and influential people. Migu's grandfather was a general and was very famous. Moreover, Mushin's boyfriend was General Chang's son. Most of the people who came to attend the party were here because of old General Mu and General Qing. The party began, and the yacht was bustling with noise and excitement. Today's main character, Mushin, was wearing a white princess dress. She held a wine glass in her hand and had a bright smile on her face as she welcomed the guests and received everyone's blessings. Mushin was very beautiful. Her every move was incomparably elegant, and her every frown and smile was so charming. Song Wuyo had a faint smile on her face as she hugged Gu Yanhao's arm. Gu Yanhao was toasting with people he was familiar with, and she was looking at Mushin, who had a bright smile on her face. How could this world be so magical? When she saw Mu Axean for the first time, her entire person was stunned. Mushin actually looked very similar to her sister-in-law in her previous life. Her charm and her smile were exactly the same. Looking at Mushin, who was wearing a princess dress, Song Wuyo seemed to have seen her sister-in-law in her previous life. Her sister-in-law was already pregnant, and the entire family was happily preparing to welcome the little monkey. Unexpectedly, because of her, the entire family was wiped out. Not a single person in the family survived, including the baby in her sister-in-law's stomach. Song Wuyo looked at Mu Axean absent-mindedly. What are you thinking about? Gu Yanhao's magnetic voice suddenly sounded in her ears. His voice entered her ears, and his warm breath blew into her ears, causing her to shiver uncontrollably. Song Wuyo retracted her gaze from Mu Axean and looked up at Gu Yanhao. Nothing. Her uneasiness made Gu Yanhao's eyes darken. He was a little puzzled. You don't like me bringing you to such events? Gu Yanhao looked at her and asked. In the past, she could not have asked for more. No. Song Wuyo shook her head and glanced at Mu Axean. At this time, Mushin was welcoming a beautiful lady. The lady wore a dark blue cheongsam with her hair tied up high. She wore a crystal necklace around her neck and crystal earrings on her ears. She was dignified and gentle, and her entire body exuded an incomparably noble aura. Gu Yanhao also looked over and curled his lips into a deep smile. That's Madame Jier. Oh. Song Wuyo responded. Do you want to go up and greet her? No. Song Wuyo did not have a good impression of this Madame Jier. Mushin's boyfriend is Madame Jier's son. Song Wuyo was surprised. Mushin has a boyfriend. Isn't she in university? Gu Yanhao smiled dotingly. You can also have a boyfriend in university. Chapter 134. How are their relationship? Song Wuyo asked. Migu said it's okay. The Ching family also plans to prepare for their marriage after Muxin graduates. Song Wuyo looked at Muxin, who was full of smiles. If people really had a past and present life, then she hoped that Muxin could be happy in this life. Madame Ji Er, who was chatting and laughing with Muxin, accidentally saw Song Wuyo. When she saw Song Wuyo, her heart trembled, as if something had pierced her heart. Madame Ji Er's smile froze. She looked Song Wuyo up and down and frowned slightly. Why did her heart panic when she saw this woman? This feeling was too strange. Song Wuyo also met Madame Ji Er's gaze. She only glanced at Madame Ji Er indifferently, then shifted her gaze and looked elsewhere. Madame Ji Er saw that she was following Gu Yanhao and asked Muxin, "Who is the woman beside young Master Gu? She looks quite exquisite." Muxin turned her head and glanced at Song Wuyo. A trace of disdain flashed across her eyes. Song Wuyo, young Master Gu's wife. I've heard about young Master Gu's marriage. I didn't expect his wife to be so beautiful. Madame Ji Er smiled. When Muxin heard this, she glanced at Song Wuyo again. Today, Song Wuyo was wearing a light purple dress. Her long hair reached her waist, and her skin was as white as snow. Coupled with this dress, her entire person exuded a faint spiritual aura. Muxin pursed her lips. Song Wuyo's outfit today was indeed as beautiful as a fairy. But when she thought of her terrible reputation, Muxin could not like this beautiful woman. Her appearance was perfect, but her personality was so bad. In order to become young Master Gu's woman, she would do anything. She could not like such a scheming woman. Of course, singing and dancing were indispensable for a grand party. At the party, singing and dancing were performed brilliantly. Song Jiuyue appeared in a long black gown. Her entire body was black, which added a bit of nobility to her. Song Jiumei was beside her. Song Jiumei was wearing a white knee-length gown. With her fair skin, she looked beautiful. As soon as Song Jiuyue came in, she saw Song Wuyo holding Gu Yanhao's arm. Seeing Song Wuyo dressed simply but still elegant, Song Jiuyue's eyes flashed with a touch of coldness. She had dressed up meticulously so that she could defeat Song Wuyo in terms of clothes. However, Song Wuyo's simple dress exuded endless elegance. Song Jiuyue was undoubtedly hateful and jealous. This damned slut, how did a car accident make her change so much? Jiuyue, you're here. Mu Axean came forward and welcomed Song Jiuyue happily. Mu Axean and Song Jiuyue had known each other since they were young and had a good relationship. Mu Axean liked the clothes designed by Song Jiuyue very much and admired her. In Mu Axean's heart, Song Jiuyue was a talented woman and a big sister. Not only am I here, but I'm also giving you a dress as a birthday present. Song Jiuyue handed the gift box in her hand to Mu Axean. Mu Axean said happily, I love the clothes you designed the most. With that, Mu Axean could not wait to open the gift box and take out the dress. Wow, it's very beautiful. When Mu Axean saw that this dress was similar to the design of the winner of the fashion competition, she was pleasantly surprised. She opened the dress and tried it on in front of her body. It's very beautiful. Mu Axean's face was full of surprise. The beautiful dress and the beautiful person quickly attracted a lot of attention. Those socialites who liked to look beautiful came forward. Isn't this dress the design of the winner of the competition? Chapter 135. I've never seen it live. I've only seen it live on TV. However, this dress is really similar to the winner's piece. Could the designer of that piece be Miss Song? I heard that this year, the Gu clan started to focus on retro designs in the European and American markets. Every piece is leading the sales. From what you've said, the designer of the winner's piece is really Miss Song. In the midst of the discussion, a beautiful and elegant woman suddenly looked at Song Juyue. Miss Song, did you really design the winner's piece in the fashion competition? I think so. This dress is so similar to that dress. Song Juyue was still thinking about how to answer when another socialite interrupted. Song Juyue's beautiful face had an elegant and calm smile. When they surrounded her and started to discuss, almost everyone present looked at her. Song Juyue wanted to say that she wasn't the designer of the winner's piece. However, when she looked up, she saw that everyone was looking at her expectantly. Also, there was Mushin's admiring gaze. Her vanity was acting up. She felt that she had become the star of the party today. When she was about to answer, she saw Gu Yanhao. Song Wuyo was holding his arm and looking at her from a distance. Gu Yanhao's eyes were as dark as ink and unfathomable. Song Juyue didn't know what he was thinking, but Song Wuyo, who was beside him, seemed to be looking at her with a gaze that said, "Are you the designer of the winner's piece?" This gaze made Song Juyue unhappy. The sales rights of that dress belonged to the Gu clan. I was embarrassed to give it to Mushin, so I had to make a new one. Song Juyue retracted her gaze from Gu Yanhao and looked at the group of women in front of her with a smile. I knew it. Only Juyue has such a high talent to design such a good dress. Migu hugged the dress and looked at Song Juyue with admiration. Juyue, you're so low-key. Miss Song is indeed a talented woman in the design world. Song Juyue was very happy to be praised by everyone and was full of vanity. But there was an elegant smile on her face. She deliberately looked at Gu Yanhao and Song Wuyo. Seeing that Gu Yanhao's expression was the same as before, without much change, she secretly heaved a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that Gu Yanhao would be angry at her for lying. Seeing the surprise on Song Wuyo's face, Song Juyue raised her chin slightly. There was a trace of arrogance and complacency on her face. Song Wuyo, did you see that? So what if you have a beautiful face and a good figure? You will never be able to sit in the position of a talented woman or a goddess. Even if you are Gu Yanhao's wife, you will never be praised and worshipped by others. Song Wuyo leaned her head slightly towards Gu Yanhao. With a faint smile on her face, she asked softly, when did the Gu clan buy the sales rights of the clothes of the winner of the clothing competition? Gu Yanhao tilted his head and looked at her with a faint smile. When you were willing to sell it, that was when it was bought. Song Wuyo sighed helplessly. Now, everyone knows that the dress was designed by Song Juyue. Even if I sell it to you, they won't believe that I designed it. Gu Yanhao curved his lips and revealed a faint smile. Didn't you wrap the dress and give it to Mushin? Song Wuyo nodded. Yes, I've already given it to her. But the birthday gifts that Mushin received today were all in a small room on the yacht and had not been opened yet. Chapter 136. Gu Yanhao smiled. Mushin might be even happier after seeing your gift. Miss Song, where did you get the inspiration for that dress? Miss Song, my engagement party is in 3 months. I would like to invite you to attend and I would like you to design a similar dress for me. Is that okay? Juyue, what kind of dress do you think suits my figure? Can you design one for me? No matter how much it costs, I can afford it as long as it's from you. After everyone knew that the winner of the fashion competition was made by Song Juyue, they all gathered around to curry favor with Song Juyue, hoping that she could design a beautiful dress that belonged to her. Song Juyue enjoyed the feeling of being the moon surrounded by stars. Her vanity was greatly satisfied. Even Mrs. G. Air came forward and asked Song Juyue to design a cheongsam for her. Song Juyue was flattered that Mrs. G. Air took the initiative to ask her to design a cheongsam for her. She flattered Mrs. G. Air tactfully. I have long heard that Mrs. G. Eyre is beautiful and dignified. Today, I finally see you in person. I didn't expect Mrs. G. Eyre to be even more beautiful than I imagined. I believe that you will look very good in a cheongsam. When you are free, come to my house and take my measurements. Mrs. G. Eyre smiled. Her smile was dignified and beautiful. Song Jiuyue nodded and said gracefully, "Okay, I will find time to take your measurements as soon as possible." The conversation between Song Jiuyue and Mrs. G. Eyre made everyone envious. The way they looked at Song Jiuyue was filled with envy and admiration. The current president and Mrs. G. Eyre's husband were brothers. The current president married late and only had a daughter. His daughter was only 9 years old this year. The president's brother, General Qing Yaoqiang, and Mrs. G. Eyre had 3 sons. The second son was Muxin's boyfriend, the eldest son was working in the embassy, and the youngest son was studying in England. The president valued Mrs. G. Eyre's eldest son very much. Everyone knew that when the president stepped down, Mrs. G. Eyre's eldest son would take over. Therefore, these socialites also hoped to get close to Madame Eyre. But Lady Gill would not go near a girl she did not like. Now, Song Jiuyue had received her invitation. She should like Song Jiuyue very much. Even Song Jiuyue, who was standing beside Song Jiuyue, envied Song Jiuyue. Madame Jier chatted politely with Song Jiuyue for a while before finding a quiet place to sit down and rest. Mu Axayan happily pulled Song Jiuyue along. "Jiuyue, let's go back and try on the dress. I really like this dress. Don't you think this dress will look beautiful on me?" "Of course it's beautiful. I specially made this dress for you." Song Jiuyue smiled. "Miss Mu Axian, a distinguished guest asked me to give this to you." Just as Song Jiuyue was about to leave with Mu Axian under everyone's envious gazes, the director in charge of managing the party came over with a box and stopped the elated Mu Axian. "What is it?" Mu Axian asked reflexively. The director smiled and said, "The other party said that it's your favorite birthday present." Mu Axian was puzzled. "My favorite birthday present? Wasn't her favorite birthday present the dress Song Jiuyue gave her? This was a limited edition dress that couldn't be bought with money. It was the best dress she had received. The other party said that if you open it now, you'll be very surprised," the director added. Chapter 137. Oh. Mu Axayan handed the dress in her hands to Song Jiuyue. She took the exquisitely wrapped box from the director's hands, her heart full of doubts. What kind of gift was it that was so mysterious? Song Wuyo, who was not far away, looked at Mu Axayan calmly. Mu Axayan removed the lid of the box, and what entered her eyes was a piece of fabric that she was familiar with. She didn't go to the clothing competition because she was in school. However, she repeatedly watched the broadcast and was extremely in love with the work that was named the champion. She cut out the picture of the dress and even used the picture of the dress as her phone's desktop. She was very familiar with the color and pattern of the dress. Seeing the dress in the box, Mu Axayan was stunned at first, then shocked. Was it the dress that she liked? Mu Axayan's heart skipped a beat. She quickly took out the dress and threw the box away. The dress left the box and poured down like a peacock that had finally had the chance to spread its tail. Wow! So beautiful! The moment the dress was shaken off by Mu Axayan, there was an uproar. What a beautiful dress! Song Jiuyue's expression froze when she saw it. Her eyes widened, and her eyeballs were about to pop out. This dress, wasn't it, impossible? Why would this dress be here? The person who designed this dress was also attending this party. Song Jiuyue's face suddenly turned very pale. Song Jiumei was also stunned by this dress. She was the first to come back to her senses and exclaimed, big sister, what's going on? Song Jumei's words almost woke everyone up. Their gazes left the dress and looked at Song Juyue. Receiving their gazes, Song Juyue's expression turned even uglier. Mu Axian looked at Song Juyue eagerly. Juyue, you gave it to me. Song Juyue looked around, her heart tight. She didn't dare to say that she designed the dress and didn't know if its owner was present. There's a card here. At this moment, a woman picked up the box that Mu Axian had casually tossed aside. The woman saw a card in the box. She took it out and handed it to Mushin. Song Juyue trembled when she saw the card. There was a kind of panic that was similar to being caught red-handed while stealing. Mushin took the card and read the words on it. To the most beautiful Miss Mu Axian. Writer, Wuyo Wuyo. Who is this Wuyo Wuyo? Someone asked. I know, it's a model wearing a dress in the fashion contest. That's right. I remember that the model said that she designed the dress and made it herself. The woman in the red dress said. Then, she turned around and looked at Song Juyue, who couldn't remain calm. At that time, Miss Song was sitting in the audience. Her work was even released to the public and she won 3rd place. When Mushin heard this, she looked at Song Juyue in shock. Juyue, you didn't design this dress. When Mushin asked this, everyone no longer looked at Song Juyue with envy. Instead, there was a hint of mockery. After all, Song Juyue was someone who had seen the world. She smiled embarrassedly to hide the awkwardness and embarrassment on her face. I didn't say that I designed this dress. Indeed, she had never said that she was the one who designed the dress. But you said that the sales rights of the dress already belong to the Gu clan group. Why is this dress here? The woman in the red dress asked again. Chapter 138. Song Juyue could not keep her face straight, but she still maintained her smile. The sales rights of this dress really belong to the Gu clan. I think you're lying, right? The woman in the red gown looked at her with disdain. I think so. She said so much just now to mislead us into thinking that she designed the dress. The woman in the red gown's companions also looked at her with disdain. She even dares to say that she designed the winner's dress. I really don't know if the Gu clan's top-selling dresses were designed by Song Juyue. Everyone started to discuss. It's hard to say. After all, Song Juyue's name is very influential in the design industry. In order to increase sales, it's not impossible to use her name. Hearing their words, Song Juyue's brain buzzed. It was as if something inside had exploded. Her smile was already very stiff. The Gu clan's top-selling dresses were all designed by me. Song Juyue emphasized. The sales rights of the winner's dress already belong to the Gu clan, but my name is not used. The sales rights of this dress have never belonged to the Gu clan. Suddenly, a cold and deep voice interrupted. When everyone heard this, their gazes immediately turned to the owner of the voice. They saw Gu Yanhao standing coldly behind Song Juyue. His deep and sharp eyes looked coldly at Song Juyue. Song Juyue, as an employee of the Gu clan, don't you know the rules of the Gu clan? When Song Juyue heard this, her brain buzzed again. Her back stiffened and she felt a chill. She did not dare to turn around to look at Gu Yanhao. Young Master Gu, the sales rights of this dress really do not belong to the Gu clan. The woman in the red gown asked. Gu Yanhao said coldly, if I really sold it to the Gu clan, would I let them give the dress to Mushin? Ah. The woman in the red dress deliberately made an exaggerated expression and looked at Song Juyue. It turns out that Miss Song is really lying. Even if you want to take credit, this is not the way to do it. You even pretended to be the designer of the champion. There was another round of discussion. Song Jiuyue could no longer maintain her dignity. She turned around and looked at Gu Yanhao pitifully. Why? Why did he expose her in front of so many people? After all, she was the chief designer of the Gu clan. All these years, her designs had earned a lot of money for the Gu clan. She had also made a name for herself as a crossdresser. Couldn't he give her some face on account of this? Song Jiuyue felt very sad and wronged. Mu Xin, on the other hand, was very disappointed. Why would Song Jiuyue, whom she had always admired, lie? Mu Axian took the dress and turned to leave. The onlookers also left one after another. But the way they looked at Song Jiuyue had completely changed. Song Wuyo saw this scene and showed a smug smile on her face. Her eyes were cold and her expression was indifferent. Mrs. G. Eyre, who was resting not far away, accidentally saw her and her heart tightened again. Seeing the smug and cold smile on her beautiful face, Mrs. G. Eyre raised her eyebrows slightly. This woman, who was not more than 20 years old, did not look simple. Looking at her cold and arrogant eyes, she gave people an indescribable sense of oppression. Mrs. G. Eyre hesitated and walked over. She came to Song Wuyo's side and stopped. She showed a dignified smile and asked knowingly, "Excuse me, are you Mrs. Gu Song Wuyo?" Song Wuyo withdrew his gaze from the show and looked at Madame G. Seeing Mrs. G. Eyre's dignified and noble appearance, Song Wuyo searched the memory of the original owner, but she could not remember who this noble woman in front of her was. Chapter 139. Song Wuyo nodded. Yes. Mrs. G. Eyre smiled and asked, Wuyo is you? Song Wuyo was surprised. You believe it? Mrs. G. Eyre smiled. My intuition tells me that you are. Song Wuyo smiled. If you say so. A complicated emotion flashed across Mrs. G. Eyre's eyes that Song Wuyo could not detect. I wonder if you can help me design a cheongsam. Song Wuyo nodded. Of course, but I can't guarantee that you'll be satisfied with it. Mrs. G. Eyre said, you can even make a retro dress so well. I believe that the cheongsam you make will definitely look good. Song Wuyo smiled. Not necessarily. The dress she gave Mu Xin was the style she wore in her previous life. However, the cheongsam was popular in the late Qing dynasty. Gu Yanhao turned around and saw Mrs. G. Eyre talking to Song Wuyo. His eyes darkened and he raised his eyebrows slightly. As soon as Song Jiuyue returned to the lounge, she locked the door from the inside. Song Jiumei, who followed her in, said hatefully, Who is Wuyo? Why did you send the dress over at the critical moment? Song Jiuyue's face was pale and her eyes were red. As if she did not hear Song Jiumei's words, she muttered, Young Master Gu. Why did young Master Gu expose me? Would it kill him to say that the sales rights of the dress belonged to the Gu clan? Song Jiumei looked at Song Jiuyue with a complicated expression. Seeing her sad expression, she felt a little distressed. She asked carefully, Big sister, could Wuyo be Song Wuyo? Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental that the dress was sent over at the critical moment? Moreover, all the people who were invited had arrived and the yachts had already sailed out to sea. The only way the gift could be sent over was by helicopter or yacht. However, there were no helicopters or other boats approaching. The gift had been sent over long ago. How is this possible? Song Jiuyue glared at Song Wuyo angrily. If that arrogant girl Song Wuyo can make such a dress, I'll kneel down to her. Wuyo should be that designer's stage name. Song Jiuyue's eyes were cold. She should also be at the party. She probably didn't like the way I said that the dress was designed by me, so she deliberately asked the director to bring the gift box up to embarrass me. If I find out who she is, I will gouge her eyes out. Song Jiuyue's expression was contorted as she said viciously, young Master Gu is captivated by Song Wuyo. If it wasn't for Song Wuyo, young Master Gu would definitely help me regain my face after what happened today. It must be. I hate Song Wuyo so much. Big sister, I brought the medicine. A vicious look flashed across Song Jiumei's eyes. Song Jiuyue looked at her. Where's the room? Has it been arranged? It's been arranged. I told Mushin that you're in a bad mood and need to rest. She arranged a room for you. Song Jiuyue's eyes were cold and vicious. I don't want a room. I want Song Wuyo to make a fool of herself. I'll go and carry out our plan now. Song Jiumei said. Go quickly. Song Jiuyue wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. Okay. Song Jiumei opened the door and went out. Song Jiumei's back view disappeared into the corridor. Migu's tall figure came out from another room. He stood there, his gentle peach blossom eyes had turned cold. He coldly looked at the door of Song Jiuyue's lounge. The waiter came to Song Wuyo with a tray. Song Wuyo stopped him. Give me a cup of flower tea. The waiter smiled. Okay. What kind of flowers would you like? Chrysanthemum. Chapter 140. Song Jiumei had been observing Song Wuyo the whole time. Seeing that she wanted chrysanthemum tea, she smiled proudly. The waiter came out of the pantry with a tray. As soon as he reached the door, he saw Song Jiumei. The waiter smiled at her. Song Jiumei gave the waiter a check and went straight to the point. I need your help with something. When the waiter's gaze swept across the number on the check, his eyes revealed a greedy look. The waiter smiled. What do you need me to do? Song Mimi glanced around. Come with me. The waiter came out of Song Jiuyue's break and walked toward the party. There were a few cups of drinks on his tray. One of them was the chrysanthemum tea Song Wuyo wanted. When he passed by a corridor, someone was in a hurry and bumped into the waiter. The waiter was shocked and grabbed the tray tightly with both hands. However, some of the drinks on the tray were shaken out. The waiter subconsciously looked back at the person who had bumped into him. The waiter frowned at the unfamiliar figure. Who was it? Didn't they walk with their eyes open? The waiter quickened his pace and gave the chrysanthemum tea to Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo had been standing in her high heels for too long. She took the chrysanthemum tea and found a seat to sit down. Just as she sat down, Gu Yanhao came and sat down opposite her. What did you say to Mrs. G. Gu Yanhao asked. Mrs. G. is very smart. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. She knows that Wuyo is you. Song Wuyo nodded. Yes, she also asked me to design a cheongsam for her. Gu Yanhao's eyes were as deep as an ancient pool as he looked at Song Wuyo. Other than that, did she say anything else to you? Song Wuyo took a sip of tea. No. Gu Yanhao looked down at the cup in her hand. You like flower tea? The Song Wuyo he knew hated flower tea the most. She usually drank all kinds of drinks. Flower tea is good for your health. Song Wuyo took another sip. This was wild chrysanthemum. The water that was soaked in was sweet and fragrant. It was extremely tasty. Song Jiumei looked at them from not far away. Seeing Gu Yanhao chatting with her, Song Jiumei was jealous. However, when she saw Song Wuyo drinking the chrysanthemum tea, her eyes revealed a sneer of success. When the waiter passed by her, she smiled and said, "Give me a glass of red wine." The waiter stopped. Song Jiumei reached out and picked up the glass of red wine from his tray. She tasted it slowly, waiting for time to pass. About half an hour. Song Wuyo was still sitting there, eating the dessert served by Gu Yenhao. Song Jiumei saw her dissatisfied expression and became anxious. Is that enough? Song Jiuyue came out of the resting area. Ignoring everyone's gazes, she came to Song Jiumei's side and asked softly. It should be soon, Song Jiumei said. Song Jiuyue looked at Song Wuyo and frowned slightly. Didn't you say that the medicine is very effective? Why isn't she having any reaction at all? Song Jiumei said, maybe everyone has different physiques and reaction times. Song Jiuyue said, no matter how different it is, more than half an hour has passed. There should be a reaction. Song Jiuyue glanced at Song Jiumei coldly and saw that her face was unusually red. She then looked at the glass of red wine in her hand. There was still half a glass of red wine left. She said coldly, why did you drink so much wine? Song Jiumei did not answer Song Jiuyue's question. Because she felt that the air here was a little stuffy. How could this be? They were on a yacht. The yacht was sailing on the sea, and the sea breeze was whistling. How could it be stuffy? Chapter 141. Song Jiumei took another sip of red wine and looked at Song Wuyo impatiently. Why isn't that bitch reacting? Did you drink enough? Song Jiuyue asked worriedly. Yes, I drank all of it. Song Jiuyue said hatefully, let's wait a little longer. After saying that, Song Jiuyue could not stand the way they looked at her and could only go back. After Song Jiuyue left, Song Jiumei felt that the air was getting hotter and hotter. Her face was abnormally red and her eyes became misty. Damn it, why is it so hot? Song Jiumei fanned her hot face with her hand. It was so uncomfortable. She felt that not only was the air stuffy, but even her body temperature was rising. Gu Yenhao saw that Song Wuyo did not eat anything after eating 2 desserts and asked with concern, are you tired? Do you want to go back and rest? Song Wuyo looked at him indifferently and nodded. Okay. She did not like this kind of lively and noisy occasion. Just as Song Wuyo got up and was about to leave, there was a commotion behind her. She turned around and frowned. Song Jiumei was pulling a male waiter and looked like she was going to pounce on him. The waiter was frightened by her and kept struggling. When he broke free from her hand, he ran away as if he was running for his life. Everyone gathered around to watch the show. Song Jiumei was uncomfortable from the heat and tugged at her gown. Her gown was low-cut and with her tugging, it fell to her waist. Her full chest was completely exposed in front of everyone. What was going on? Everyone was puzzled. Was Song Jiumei drunk and acting crazy? Mu Axean came forward and saw that Song Jiumei had taken off her dress. She was disappointed. This was her birthday party. What was she doing here? Mu Axean came forward to persuade Song Jiumei. Jiumei, stop fooling around. There are many people here. Go away. Song Jiumei's face was red and hot. Her body felt like it was on fire. Her body was so empty that she needed a man to fill it. Without a man, she was frustrated. Mu Axian was pushed away. She almost fell in her high heels. Someone supported her from behind. Song Jiumei's legs were so weak that she could not stand anymore. She simply sat on the ground. His mouth was even letting out extremely lewd moans. So uncomfortable. Save me. Save me. Everyone began to point fingers at her. How embarrassing. Mu Xian's eyes were red as she looked at Song Jiumei anxiously. She originally wanted to find someone to send Song Jiumei back, but the men were all far away. Those who surrounded them to watch the show were all women. Mushin saw Migu. He was in front, looking over coldly. Mushin hurriedly grabbed his arm and said anxiously, "Brother, Jume is drunk. Send her back." He didn't want her to embarrass herself here. Migu removed Mushin's hand and indifferently said, "If she wants to make trouble, then let her." The moment Mushin heard, she looked at Migu in surprise. Young Master Gu. Why? Song Jume lay on the ground and groaned in pain. Young Master Gu. Everyone was stunned. This young Master Gu, was he Gu Yenhao? Song Wuyo frowned. When she heard Song Jume's words, she subconsciously raised her head and looked at Gu Yenhao. Gu Yenhao's expression was cold as he looked indifferently at Song Jume, who was making a fool of herself. "Why did you marry that bitch Song Wuyo and not me? I feel so uncomfortable." Chapter 142. Song Juyue estimated the time and came out of the lounge. Seeing that everyone had surrounded her, she thought that Song Wuyo's drug was taking effect and walked forward proudly. Before she could walk through the crowd, she heard Song Jume's painful moans. She stopped in her tracks and her expression suddenly became a little ugly. What did Song Jume mean by this? She also liked Gu Yenhao. Gu Yenhao was a man who stood out wherever he went. Even if Song Jume was acting out a passionate scene, she could not steal his attraction. Moreover, Song Jume had mentioned him. Suddenly, everyone's eyes swept towards Gu Yenhao. Gu Yenhao hugged Song Wuyo's waist with one arm. His gaze was as sharp as a sword as he looked at Song Jume coldly, exuding a dangerous coldness. Song Wuyo frowned slightly, a trace of grievance in her clear eyes. Of course, she only showed this trace of grievance when everyone looked over. No matter how bad Song Wuyo's reputation was, she was still Gu Yenhao's wife. It was not appropriate for Song Jume to call Song Wuyo a bitch at this time, especially in front of everyone. Moreover, Song Wuyo did not apply any powder on her face. Her skin was whiter than snow, and she was wearing a simple purple dress, looking extremely elegant. Looking at her, she did not look as disgusting as the rumors said. Her eyes were still filled with grievance, making them feel that Song Jume's actions were too much. Young Master Gu. Young Master Gu. Young Master Gu, where are you? I feel terrible. At this moment, Song Jume was imagining Gu Yenhao, rolling on the bed. She pinched her breasts with both hands and moved her legs. I love you very much, young Master Gu, I love you. Ah ah ah. Ah ah ah. The scene was too much, and some people could not watch it anymore. Song Juyue's face was pale, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead. This damned Song Jume, did she know what she was doing? Her gaze suddenly landed on Song Wuyo. When she saw Song Wuyo, Song Juyue's expression suddenly became distorted. Wasn't the drug meant for her? Why did it change to Song Jume? Song Wuyo looked at Song Jume's exciting performance and felt very proud. She was in a good mood. Without anyone noticing, the corners of her mouth curled up, revealing a mocking sneer. Seeing her sneer, Song Juyue was so angry that her neck became thick. She wanted to tear her face apart. Gu Yenhao tilted his head and looked at Song Wuyo. He caught the sneer on Song Wuyo's face before it completely disappeared. Gu Yenhao raised his eyebrows. His eyes were deep and there was a trace of complicated emotion in them. At the same time, his heart tightened slightly. Feeling his gaze, Song Wuyo raised her head and looked at him indifferently. When their eyes met, Song Wuyo's heart trembled violently for some reason. She quickly looked away and said unhappily, I'm tired and sleepy. I'm going back to my room to rest. If you want to watch Song Jume's performance here, go ahead. As she said that, Song Wuyo reached out and wanted to remove the hand that was hugging her waist. Unexpectedly, Gu Yanhao retracted his arm and hugged her even tighter. What's there to watch when a cow is howling in grief? Gu Yanhao said sarcastically. Song Wuyo glanced at Song Jiumei. No, Song Jiumei was quite charming. She didn't look like a cow at all. Her charm was even better than Song Jiuyue's. He looked at Song Wuyo coldly and then took her away. I'll send you back to your room. Chapter 143. Gu Yanhao and Song Wuyo left the scene, but the scene continued. In the end, Song Jiumei fainted because she couldn't get a man to fill her empty body. The party had to continue and couldn't stop because of Song Jiumei. Song Jiumei was sent back to the sea by Migu and was being treated at the hospital. In Gu Yanhao and Song Wuyo's room. Song Wuyo sat on the bed with a pillow, deep in thought. Gu Yanhao sat on the sofa at the end of the bed with his legs crossed, looking lazy and elegant. He looked at Song Wuyo coldly. What are you thinking about? Song Wuyo said, I forgot to ask Mrs. Eyre what color of dress she likes to wear. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. She was sitting there in a daze not because Song Jiumei wanted to seduce him, but because she was thinking about Mrs. Eyre's Cheongsam. Song Jiumei was drugged, Gu Yanhao said. Song Wuyo raised her eyebrows and said, I know. Song Jiumei's behavior was too abnormal. You drugged her. Song Wuyo's heart sank and her eyes turned cold. She looked at Gu Yanhao and said, what if I say yes? Would he blame her? Gu Yanhao suddenly curled his lips and a touch of gentleness flashed past his deep and cold eyes. Not enough. The man's voice was deep and pleasant. What do you mean? Song Wuyo looked at him in confusion. Gu Yanhao looked at her and said, you drugged her. You should arrange a man for her. Song Wuyo smiled disdainfully and said, a woman like Song Jiumei is not worthy of such despicable means. Gu Yanhao looked at Song Wuyo and said, Song Wuyo, I don't understand you anymore. I don't need you to understand me. You don't want to understand me anyway. I want to understand you. Gu Yanhao looked at her seriously. Song Wuyo's heart clenched when she heard that. In her previous life, Dongfang Xian had said the same thing to her. At that time, she insisted on disguising herself as a man and joining the army with him. He strongly objected, saying that women did not know how to fight. When she thought about how she couldn't join the army with him and had to be separated from him, she was sad. She cried and said, I don't care if a woman knows how to fight or not. In any case, I want to participate. Dongfang Xian, you don't understand me. He didn't understand how much she cared about him. He didn't understand how much she wanted to accompany him. Dongfang Xian looked at her seriously. Then tell me, why do you want to go to war? I want to understand you. I want to understand you. When Dongfang Xian said these words to her, his tone was extremely gentle and tolerant. His tone was similar to Gu Yanhao's. One was to destroy her after understanding her. The other was to understand her after destroying her. Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao faintly. This face was exactly the same as Dongfang Xian's. Was he really the reincarnation of Dongfang Xian? People said that people had karma. The past life and the present life went around in circles. After hundreds or thousands of years, they would still be together. In the past life, they might have been husband and wife. After thousands of years, they might have become parents or siblings. This was because they had already planted the karma. No matter how it went around, they would still meet in one life. Song Wuyo thought that in the past life, they were husband and wife. In this life, they were also husband and wife. However, Dongfang Xian had experienced Mingpa's soup and crossed the bridge of helplessness. As for her, her soul traveled through time and space and came directly here. In the end, they still met. As for him, he didn't remember anything. She, on the other hand, retained the painful memories of the past life and the present life. Chapter 144. Every time she thought of Dongfang Xian, Song Wuyo's heart would ache. She didn't want to see Gu Yanhao's face. She pulled the blanket and lay down on the bed. Gu Yanhao, I'm seasick. I'm going to sleep. Don't disturb me. Gu Yanhao pursed his lips and looked at her deeply. When she was distracted just now, he caught a glimpse of sadness on her face. It was a sadness that came from seeing through the world, not the kind of sadness that came from being heartbroken. He also knew that her seasickness was just an excuse. She didn't want him to see her real expression. Gu Yanhao pursed his lips tightly. She seemed to be hiding a lot of things from him. The party was almost over. The yacht that left the ocean slowly moved towards the shore. Song Wuyo lay on the bed and rested for about half an hour. When she woke up, Gu Yanhao was no longer in the room. She got up, washed her face, tidied up her dress and hairstyle, and left the lounge to go to the deck. The yacht was not very big, but the wind on the deck was still very strong. The salty sea breeze hit her face like two hands gently patting her face. Song Wuyo liked this comfortable feeling very much. She walked to the edge and held the railing, letting the wind blow her dress. Migu came out with 2 glasses of fruit juice. He stood at the hatch and looked at Song Wuyo's back view. The women who came to the party were all dressed up to the nines. She, on the other hand, was wearing a simple-fitting purple dress, and her black hair reached her waist. When the sea breeze blew, her dress and hair danced wildly. Migu's beautiful peach blossom eyes dimmed when he saw such a scene. He pursed his lips and looked at Song Wuyo's back view with a serious expression. Suddenly, his lips curled into a smile. His smile was a little sad. He lifted his foot and strode over. Fruit juice goes better with the sea breeze. Migu stood beside Song Wuyo and handed her a glass of fruit juice. Seeing that it was him, Song Wuyo was surprised. Don't you need to accompany your sister? Migu's lips curled up. His smile gave people a devilish and evil feeling. She's now holding the dress that Wuyo gave her and having a sweet dream in the lounge. That dress is really beautiful. I like it too. Since you like it, why did you give it to Mushin? Migu looked at her and asked. Song Wuyo was stunned and looked at Migu. Gu Yanhao told you. Otherwise, how would he know that the dress was designed by her? Migu's peach blossom eyes flashed a touch of complexity. He was just probing. He didn't expect that the dress was really designed by her. The style of the dress was almost the same as the clothes of the X dynasty. Migu smiled. The name on the card is obviously you. Song Wuyo smiled indifferently. It's just the same name. Maybe it's not me. Enough. You still won't admit it in front of me. Your reaction just now has already made me certain that the dress was designed by you. Song Wuyo took a sip of the fruit juice. It was sour and sweet, and there was a strong fragrance. Song Wuyo frowned slightly. Looking at the orange-yellow drink in the cup, she changed the topic. What is this? It's so sour. Passion fruit juice. Song Wuyo sniffed. It's really fragrant. Song Wuyo took another sip. This time, the taste was not as sour as the first sip. Moreover, the more she drank, the better it tasted. Song Jiumei was drugged. Migu looked at Song Wuyo deeply. The topic changed too quickly. Song Wuyo's mind paused for a moment. She lifted her eyes and looked at Migu. I know. I can tell. Magoo smiled elegantly. Don't you want to know who drugged her? Chapter 145. Song Wooyo's gaze was indifferent. I'm not interested in Song Jomei's matters. It was me. Magoo's gentle eyes darkened. I drugged her. Song Wooyo was surprised. Why did you do that? This was his sister Muaxian's birthday party. What he did almost ruined this grand party. Because she wanted to harm you. Magoo narrowed his eyes and looked at the rolling waves. Song Wooyo grabbed the railing tightly. There was hatred in her heart. No matter how strong the sea breeze was, it couldn't blow away this hatred. Today, if Magoo hadn't changed the chrysanthemum tea she drank in time, then she would be the one making a fool of herself in front of everyone, wouldn't she? Her expression was calm and her gaze was cold. The original owner had been brought back to the Song family by Song Nan since she was 5 years old. At that time, she hadn't been happy for a day. Song Joyue and Song Jomei treated her like a dog and always bullied her. Mrs. Song, her stepmother, was an evil woman. She hit her when she was in a bad mood. Song Nan didn't dote on her. She had never done anything overboard to them. Now, they wanted to harm her. No matter how arrogant and willful the original owner was, she didn't have any bad intentions. She drugged her and arranged for a man to wait in the room. Such a despicable method didn't succeed in the Song family last time. Now, she wanted to do it again at Mushin's party. Song Wooyo. Song Joyue's fierce voice came from behind Song Wooyo. Hearing this voice, Song Wooyo's gaze turned cold, and a faint sneer appeared on her lips. Very good. She wasn't looking for her, but she was looking for her. Song Wooyo turned around, and the wind blew her hair. When she turned around and saw her cold gaze, Song Joyue's heart skipped a beat. Suddenly, she felt that Song Wooyo's aura was very oppressive. It's you. Song Joyue glared at Song Wooyo. You drugged Song Jomei. Idiot. Song Wooyo sneered. Song Joyue was furious. What did you say? I said you're an idiot. Song Wooyo looked at Song Joyue with disdain. Why would I drug Song Jomei for no reason? Song Joyue didn't know how to respond to Song Wooyo. Who is she to me? Was he the murderer of his father or the murderer of his brother? Or the bitch who stole my husband? Song Joyue looked at Song Wooyo in surprise. When did she become so sharp-tongued? She's nothing. Why would I drug her for no reason? Now that Gu Yanhao treats me like a treasure, why would I use such despicable means to lower my IQ and ruin my personality? Song Joyue's face turned green and purple. She glared at Song Wooyo fiercely. What is this bitch talking about? Why did she feel that she was using despicable means to lower her IQ and ruin her personality? She felt that Song Wooyo was scolding her. Originally, she wanted to use this party to give Muaxe an address and let more people see her good side. However, she was suddenly disrupted by someone called Wooyo. She wanted to rely on Song Jomei to drug Song Wooyo and expose Song Wooyo's scandal so that she could suppress her own matter. Unexpectedly, Song Jomei was the one who made a fool of herself. Things didn't go as planned. Song Joyue was furious. She suspected that Song Wooyo had drugged Song Jomei. Seeing her standing alone on the deck, she came over to reason with her. She didn't expect to be mocked back. Song Joyue felt as if she had been slapped by Song Wooyo on the spot. She felt extremely humiliated. Chapter 146. Song Wooyo, I will find evidence to prove that you were the one who harmed Jomei. Song Joyue glared at Song Wooyo and gritted her teeth. Then, before you find the evidence, can you please stop chattering in front of me? Song Woo-yo sneered disdainfully. She walked closer to Song Jo-yue. Song Jo-yue froze for a moment. She felt a sense of oppression as she got closer. Song Woo-yo's lips curled into a cold smile. She stopped in front of Song Jo-yue and whispered in her ear, "Song Jo-yue, Song Jo-mei also likes Gu Yenhao. How do you feel?" Song Jo-yue's entire body trembled. Song Woo-yo looked up and inadvertently glanced in front of her. "You are indeed not as pretty as Song Jo-mei. Your figure and appearance are not as good as hers. Song Woo-yo, don't go overboard." Song Jo-yue was hit by Song Woo-yo. She was so angry that she raised her arm and looked like she was going to hit Song Woo-yo. But before she could touch Song Woo-yo, Song Woo-yo's body suddenly flew out. Ah! Splash! Song Woo-yo's body first crashed into the guardrail and then leaned back. Because of her center of gravity, her body rolled over the guardrail, somersaulted, and fell into the sea. As she fell into the sea, Song Woo-yo's hand grabbed onto the guardrail in a panic. Unfortunately, her hand slipped and she only held onto the guardrail for a moment. In the end, she still fell. Gu Yenhao and Migu came out together. From their point of view, it looked like Song Jo-yue had pushed Song Woo-yo, causing Song Woo-yo to fall into the sea. Song Woo-yo! Song Woo-yo! When Gu Yenhao and Migu saw this, their expressions changed drastically. They shouted at the same time and then rushed up. They didn't care that the waves were rolling like a tiger's mouth and jumped into the sea one after the other. At this moment, the yacht was sailing slowly. Many people came out to enjoy the breeze. After the two handsome men, Gu Yenhao and Migu, shouted, their gazes were attracted. But before they could see the situation clearly, they had jumped into the sea. What happened? Men and women quickly ran over. Song Jo-yue looked like she had suffered a serious blow. Her body stiffened as she stood there and stared blankly at the sea. She didn't push Song, so how did Song Woo-yo fly out and fall into the sea? Mushin saw Migu and Gu Yenhao jump into the sea together from the small deck above. She walked over in a panic and grabbed Song Jo-yue's arm, asking anxiously, "Jo-yue, what's going on?" "It wasn't me." Song Jo-yue came back to her senses and looked at Mushin with some fear. "I didn't push Song Woo-yo." When Mushin heard this, her expression changed drastically. She looked at Song Jo-yue in disbelief. Song Jo-yue's words gave people a feeling that she was trying to hide something. The more she tried to explain herself, the more suspicious she was. "I just wanted to give Song Woo-yo a slap. But before I could touch her, she flew out. Mushin, you have to believe me. It was her. She jumped in herself." Her grip on Song Jo-yue's arm slowly loosened. Mushin looked at Song Jo-yue with a deep disappointment. She didn't like Song Woo-yo either. Song Woo-yo's reputation was terrible, and not many people liked her. She also knew that Song Jo-yue didn't like Song Woo-yo. But she didn't expect that Song Jo-yue would push Song Woo-yo into the sea. No matter what, Song Woo-yo is still your sister. Even though they weren't born from the same mother, they were born from the same father. The same blood flows in their veins. As her sister, how can you be so vicious as to push your own sister into the sea? A rich lady couldn't help but point at Song Jo-yue and blame her. Chapter 147. When one person spoke up, a second person would follow suit. Especially those middle-aged women. They used the harshest and harshest words to criticize Song Jo-yue. Song Jo-yue refused to admit it. However, when she raised her arm and pretended to hit Song Woo-yo, some people saw it. She would not be able to clear her name even if she jumped into the Yellow River. With Gu Yenhao, Migu, and the sailors arranged in advance, Song Woo-yo was rescued very quickly. Gu Yenhao was drenched from head to toe. He carried Song Woo-yo, who was also drenched from head to toe and had fainted. He swept a glance at Song Ju-yue like a malicious spirit. When Song Ju-yue met his gaze, it was as if she saw the date of her death. She was so frightened that her face turned pale. When Song Woo-yo opened her eyes, she realized that she was in the hospital. Gu Yenhao had been guarding by the hospital bed. When he saw that she opened her eyes, he held her hand. His deep and cold eyes had a look of concern. "You're awake." His voice was low with a touch of gentleness that could move one's heart. Song Woo-yo looked at him faintly. "You sent me to the hospital." She did not like the hospital where she felt cold all over and was filled with disinfectant. She always felt that she was in a cold palace. "Fortunately, I managed to save you in time." She almost developed acute pneumonia. When he jumped into the sea, she was swept away by the strong waves. At that moment, he was terrified. His heart was suddenly filled with fear. It was as if he saw her being taken away by an inhumane tiger. At that time, his heart almost stopped beating. He did not want her to die. It was also at that moment that he clearly understood his heart. He could not live without her by his side. It was not that he loved her, but she had been pestering him since he was 13 years old. It had become a habit for him. He usually felt that she was annoying, but suddenly, she stopped pestering him. His heart felt empty and uncomfortable. He suddenly missed the past, when she nagged at him. Song Woo-yo's eyes flashed with sadness. She was very familiar with the water. In her previous life, when she was fighting a war, she had to guard the enemy's defensive formation. She could hide underwater for 2 hours without any problem. Dongfang Xian often teased her because of this, calling her a fish. However, the body of the original owner was too weak. She didn't know how to swim yet. As soon as she fell into the sea, she lost control of herself and was swept away. She choked on her nose and drank a few mouthfuls of salty seawater. Her head hurt and she fainted. Too weak, really too weak. Song Woo-yo made up her mind. She wanted to exercise. She really didn't like this delicate body of hers. Gu Yenhao caught the sadness in her eyes and thought that she was sad because she was pushed into the water by Song Ju-yue. He held her hand tightly and said in a deep voice, "I saw everything. I will ask Song Ju-yue to apologize to you." Song Woo-yo pretended that she didn't know anything and looked at him in confusion. "What did you see?" Gu Yenhao's eyes were cold. "It was Song Ju-yue who pushed you into the sea." "She didn't push me into the sea," Song Woo-yo said. Gu Yenhao was slightly stunned and looked at Song Woo-yo in surprise. He didn't expect her to speak up for Song Ju-yue. Song Woo-yo looked at him. "Song Ju-yue mistakenly thought that I had drugged Song Ju-mei and embarrassed the Song family. She wanted to hit me. I dodged, but I didn't expect my high heels to tilt and I fell backward. I don't know why, but I fell into the sea. Whether she pushed you or hit you, it's her fault." Gu Yenhao's indifferent eyes became even colder. The video of Song Ju-mei stripping at the party was quickly posted on the internet. Chapter 148. In just 2 hours, the number of views exceeded 100 million. In other words, at least 100 million people watched this video. Song Ju-mei secretly disliked her brother-in-law. The words "lewd" to Gu Yenhao in front of everyone were very offensive. The comments below the video were even more sarcastic. The sharp words cut Song Ju-mei's heart like knives. After 2 hours in the hospital, the poison in her body was finally removed. The doctors and nurses must have seen the video. They looked at her strangely. Song Nan and Mrs. Song arrived at the ward early. They had already seen the video. Song Jume sat at the head of the bed with her phone in her hand. Looking at the video, she even wanted to die. "You've lost all my face." Song Nan walked around the ward and glared at Song Jume. Although Song Jume was not as talented as Song Joyue, she was beautiful and had many ideas. Song Nan had always doted on her. He did not expect her to do such an immoral thing. As soon as the video was posted on the internet, Song Corporation's shares plummeted. The company's higher-ups tried to salvage the situation, but they could not do so until the market closed. When the market opened tomorrow, the shares would continue to plummet. Song Nan was about to go crazy. Mrs. Song was also very angry. The two beautiful daughters of the Song family had given her a lot of face. She had always been proud of having two beautiful daughters. Today, a video had destroyed all her pride. Even Song Joyue pushing Song Wuyo into the sea became the headline. After what they did, Song Wuyo's reputation went from bad to good. In addition, Song Corporation's shares plummeted. Mrs. Song really wanted to grab Song Jume and slap her a few times. Of course, she could not bear to. "Why were you so stupid to touch those drugs?" Mrs. Song pointed at Song Jume and scolded, "You've embarrassed the Song family." Song Jume felt wronged. If such a video was released, how could she face others in the future? She looked up at Mrs. Song with tears in her eyes and cried, "Mom, it's Song Wuyo. It's Song Wuyo, that bitch, who drugged me." When Song Nan heard this, he looked at Song Jume with bloodshot eyes. "What did you say?" Song Jume was shocked by Song Nan's murderous expression. She looked at Song Wuyo timidly. It was Song Wuyo who drugged me." When Su Jing pushed the door open, Song Wuyo had just come out of the shower. She was wearing conservative pajamas, but it didn't affect her beauty. She had washed her hair, but it was still wet and the tips of her hair were dripping. "Miss, Madam, Hubby, and Second Miss are all downstairs." Su Jing looked at Song Wuyo. "Master Gu wants you to go downstairs." Song Wuyo raised her eyebrows and looked out the window. "It's so late. What are they doing here?" She was a little tired from today's party. She wanted to blow dry her hair and sleep. "They came in such a hurry that it shouldn't be anything good," Su Jing said. Song Wuyo picked up a dry towel and dried her hair as she went downstairs. When she reached the stairs, she felt Song Nan and Mrs. Song looking at her with sharp eyes. Gu Yanhao sat lazily on the sofa. A cold aura emanated from his body and filled the entire living room. His deep and sharp eyes narrowed slightly as they emitted a dark and cold aura. Song Nan and Mrs. Song both felt his intimidating aura. This aura was emitted when he heard Mrs. Song say that Song Wuyo had drugged Song Jume. Chapter 149. Mrs. Song thought that Gu Yanhao was unhappy that Song Wuyo had drugged Song Jume, so he showed such a scary expression. She was now praying that Gu Yanhao would divorce Song Wuyo on the spot. It would be best if he would give her a tight slap. Song Jume saw Song Wuyo coming downstairs. She had taken a shower and her hair was loose. She looked indescribably charming. Her skin looked even more tender after being bathed in hot water. Under the light, it was as tender as water, as transparent water. Jealousy flashed across Song Jume's eyes. The way she looked at Song Wuyo was even scarier than Song Nan's. Apart from Gu Yanhao, Song Nan and the other two were all looking at her. Song Wuyo frowned and wanted to laugh. They came here in the middle of the night just to look at her like that. It was as if she was their enemy who had killed their father. Gu Yanhao slowly looked up. Seeing that her hair was still dripping with water, his eyes darkened. Song Wuyo happened to look at him. Their eyes met in the air. Seeing him frown unhappily, Song Wuyo's eyes turned cold. Song Wuyo, you bitch. Just when Song Wuyo was 3 steps away from coming down, Mrs. Song Wuyo suddenly rushed forward and pointed at Song Wuyo. Mrs. Song thought that Song Wuyo would rush forward and slap her after hearing her scolding. At this time, she could use this opportunity to crash into the railing and then frame her for pushing her. She could then let Gu Yanhao convict her. However, Song Wuyo stopped in her tracks and stood there, looking at Mrs. Song coldly. Her beautiful facial features looked even more beautiful under the light of the luxurious crystal chandelier. She looked at Mrs. Song coldly with a hint of sharpness and displeasure. Mrs. Song got a result that she did not expect. However, when she saw Song Wuyo's cold eyes, she froze. What's going on? Wasn't Song Wuyo very arrogant and willful? She couldn't stand being scolded and liked to fight. She had already rushed up to her and scolded her for being a bitch, so why was she still so calm? It's fine if your reputation is ruined, but why do you have to use such despicable means to ruin Jomei's future? Mrs. Song did not give up. She pointed at Song Wuyo and continued to curse, "You're as cheap as your mother." They all like to use despicable means to steal other people's husbands. You're even more despicable than that vixen mother of yours. Not only did you steal my husband, you even ruined my chastity. Song Wuyo, no matter how shameless you are, shouldn't you at least have some conscience? Jomei is your elder sister. Upon hearing this, Gu Yanhao's expression became even more sinister. He pursed his lips tightly and his entire body exuded a dangerous aura. Song Wuyo sneered and looked straight at Mrs. Song. Tell me, whose husband did I steal? Zhou Yue's. Oh. Song Wuyo curled her lips into a smile. Even if it was a cold smile, her smile was still devastatingly beautiful. Song Jomei's heart was filled with jealousy. In the past, Song Wuyo, who liked to wear heavy makeup, did not think much of it. All of a sudden, she didn't have any makeup on her face, but she became so beautiful. Song Jomei stole a glance at Gu Yanhao. Seeing Gu Yanhao's deep and cold eyes lazily fall on Song Wuyo, Song Jomei's chest suddenly filled with jealousy and anger. This anger almost made her want to cry. Mrs. Song, who is Zhou Yue's husband? Song Wuyo sneered at Mrs. Song. It's... Mrs. Song turned around and pointed at Gu Yanhao. Chapter 150. It's... Mrs. Song turned around and pointed at Gu Yanhao. However, she saw Gu Yanhao's cold face and sharp eyes staring at her. What a terrifying gaze. Mrs. Song was shocked. The rest of her words were stuck in her throat. Although she did not finish her sentence, her actions were obvious. Everyone present could see it clearly because her finger was pointing at Gu Yanhao. She wanted to say that Gu Yanhao was Song Zhou Yue's husband. Song Wuyo took advantage of the moment when Mrs. Song turned around and pointed at Gu Yanhao to walk past her with her lips curled up. The sneer on her lips was extremely obvious. Who was it? Song Wuyo sat down beside Gu Yanhao and asked despite knowing the answer. Song Wuyo. Why did you drug Song Jomei? Mrs. Song panicked under Gu Yanhao's gaze and had no choice but to return to the main topic. She had come to find her today to question her. Why did she do this to her daughter? Song Wuyo slowly turned her head and looked at Song Jomei sharply. I drugged you. Song Zhou Yue's heart skipped a beat when she met her gaze. She carefully looked at Gu Yanhao and said guiltily, who else could it be other than you? Ha! Song Wuyo laughed sarcastically with a cold smile. Song Wuyo's cold smile stunned Song Nan. No matter what, Song Wuyo was his daughter. He had never seen Song Wuyo so calm and indifferent. There was a noble and calm aura around her that Song Nan felt very unfamiliar. It was as if the person in front of him was not his daughter. "What are you laughing at? You bitch, you've ruined my daughter's chastity." Mrs. Song rushed over again. She wanted to rush over and slap Song Wuyo, but Gu Yanhao glared at her and stopped her in her tracks. Wasn't Gu Yanhao on her side? Why did he look at her with such a terrifying gaze when she scolded Song Wuyo? Mrs. Song felt wronged. She cursed at Song Wuyo like a crying wolf. God is so blind. My daughter is so kind. How could she be harmed by that bitch Song Wuyo? God is so blind. Song Wuyo, just how much do you hate Jume? Song Wuyo looked at Song Wuyo sternly. His eyes were so cold that he didn't look like a father at all. Song Wuyo smiled. I don't have any grudges with anyone. She looked at Song Jume and Mrs. Song before slowly looking at Song Nan. Song Nan was stunned. He suddenly felt that her aura was very strong. You guys don't have the right to be my enemies. Song Wuyo looked at him for a long time before saying word by word. Song Nan was clearly not confident after hearing her words. However, he could not show it in front of Song Wuyo. He slapped his thigh hard and glared at Song Wuyo furiously. Since we don't have the right to be your enemies, why did you drug Jume? Luckily, she fainted and was saved. If she had met a man, her chastity would have been ruined by you. Do you know that? Song Jume recalled the scene back then and felt embarrassed. She felt sad and cried softly. Madame Song was crying and cursing at the heavens. I didn't drug anyone. I don't care about such a despicable method. Song Wuyo looked at Song Nan coldly. Jume took off her clothes after drinking the drink you gave her. You still don't admit it. Song Nan was so angry that his eyes were red. Is that so? Song Wuyo looked at Song Jume in amusement. Chapter 151. Song Wuyo, you're despicable. You dare to do it, but you don't dare to admit it. Song Wuyo's gaze made Song Jume feel even more guilty. I didn't do it, Song Wuyo emphasized. That's enough. Gu Yanhao took the towel from Song Wuyo's hand. Don't quarrel with them. Song Wuyo glared at him in annoyance. She wasn't quarreling with them. Gu Yanhao hooked his arm around her neck and pulled her toward him. Song Wuyo was about to ask him what he was doing when his next action stunned Song Wuyo. Gu Yanhao was actually using her towel to dry her hair. Song Wuyo turned her head. Her surprised eyes met Gu Yanhao's deep and narrow eyes. Song Wuyo's heart skipped a beat when she saw the tenderness in his eyes. Gu Yanhao's action also stunned Song Nan and Mrs. Song for a few seconds. Gu Yanhao had maintained his cold temperament. Was it because Song Wuyo drugged Song Jume? He was actually drying Song Wuyo's hair in front of them. Was this something that young Master Gu should do? When you wash your hair in the future, you have to dry it immediately. Gu Yanhao's slightly reproachful tone was affectionate. Song Wuyo blinked. The softest part of her heart felt as if it had been gently bumped by something. Your body is weak and you fell into the sea. You shouldn't have washed your hair. If you don't dry it immediately after washing it, I'll spank you if you catch a cold. His affectionate voice softened. Song Wuyo's heart skipped a beat. She blushed slightly. Spank, just thinking about this scene would make one blush. She said angrily, Su Jing said you asked me to come down. Stupid woman, I didn't ask you to come down immediately. When I heard that my dad and the others were here, I thought that something big had happened, so I came down. If I had known, I would have dried my hair before coming down. What words? Song Jume and Mrs. Song were so angry that their faces turned red. Mrs. Song glared at Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo, isn't drugging Song Wuyo a big deal? Song Jume cried even more aggrievedly. Song Wuyo suddenly cried out. Gu Yanhao's heart tightened. He stopped drying his hair and looked at her nervously. What's wrong? Song Wuyo glared at him and said angrily, can't you be gentler? It hurts when you pull my hair. Gu Yanhao's delicate handsome face flashed a touch of guilt, hooked his lips, revealing an embarrassed smile. Look, at the first time I help a woman's hair, don't blame me. If you want to blame me, then blame me. Song Wuyo acted coquettishly. Not only do I blame you, but I also want to punish you. Gu Yanhao curled his lips and his eyes flickered. Punish me for what? Song Wuyo glared at him hatefully. Punish you to only dry my hair for the rest of your life. You're not allowed to dry other women's hair. Gu Yanhao's smile became more obvious. I'm willing to accept this punishment. How infuriating. Mrs. Song was so angry that blood vessels appeared in her eyes after being ignored by them. Song Nan gritted his teeth, very dissatisfied with Gu Yanhao's disregard. Song Jume was so angry that she wanted to go up and rip Song Wuyo's hair off. Young Master Gu, I'm here today to ask Song Wuyo to apologize to me and seek justice. I didn't do anything to let her down. She drugged me and made me embarrass myself in front of so many people. Young Master. Ade suddenly rushed in and interrupted Song Jume's words. Gu Yanhao glanced at him. You got it. Ade nodded. Yes. Gu Yanhao coldly glanced at Song Jume. Let them hear it. Chapter 152. Yes, young master. Ade took out a recording pen. He pressed the play button and soon, the recording was played clearly. Miss Song, what is this? It was a man's voice. Upon hearing this voice, Song Jume's expression changed. She looked at the recording pen in Ade's hand in shock. Don't ask what it is. Just give this cup of flower tea to Song Wuyo. This was Song Jume's voice. Even though it was played by the recording pen, it was not difficult to hear her smugness. If it's poison, I won't do it. If they find out, I'll be dead. I'll give you 1 million if you do a small thing. Why are you asking so many questions? It's not poison. Don't worry. It's really not poison. If you ask again, I'll find another waiter. Okay, I'll go now. The door opened and the waiter's footsteps left. Then, Song Wuyo, if you drink this cup of chrysanthemum tea, you might not even be able to protect your chrysanthemum. You drank the strongest aphrodisiac in the black market this year. You're so lucky. Song Wuyo heard this and sneered. After the recording was played, Gu Yanhao was already helping Song Wuyo dry her hair. Gu Yanhao used his fingers as a comb to help Song Wuyo comb her hair. Song Nan's expression became very ugly as he looked at Song Jume sternly. Mrs. Song also looked at Song Jume in disbelief. Song Jume trembled in fear. She suddenly shook her head and pointed at the recording pen in Ade's hand. She shouted, "No! That's not my voice." The three of them had a variety of expressions. They were not calm at all. Your hair is too long. Do you want to cut it shorter? Gu Yanhao did not seem to hear Song Jume's yelling. He looked at Song Wuyo tenderly. No. Song Wuyo did not like short hair. In her previous life, she did not cut her hair short when she disguised as a man. Gu Yanhao smiled dotingly. No, I'll wash your hair for you in the future. Song Wuyo glared at him. That's what you said. Okay. Gu Yanhao suddenly looked at Song Jiumei. Finally not being ignored, Song Jiumei quickly cried, "Young Master Gu, that's not my voice." No. Exactly. I can't even tell that it's Jiumei's voice. Mrs. Song pointed at Song Wuyo. It must be you, you bitch. You copied Jiumei's voice and recorded it. Song Wuyo looked at Madame Song's finger pointing at her in amusement. She really wouldn't shed tears until she saw the coffin. Gu Yanhao's figure was tall and noble as he lazily reclined on the sofa. In his hand, he was playing with Song Wuyo's hair. The quality of her hair was really good. It was incomparably soft, like silk. His handsome face was so cold that there was no trace of warmth. Even so, he was still very handsome. Song Jiumei thought hatefully in her heart. Why wasn't she the one sitting next to him and letting him play with her hair? You only got a recording. Gu Yanhao's deep voice was as cold as ice. That waiter and the video are both here, Ade said. When Song Jiumei heard this, her mind buzzed. Her whole body trembled, and her face turned even paler. Seeing Song Jiumei's reaction, Song Nan roughly guessed what was going on. A wave of anger surged in his heart, and he clenched his fists tightly. Gu Yanhao's eyes were cold as he looked at Song Jiumei with a faint smile. Do you want to watch the video first or listen to the waiter first? Song Jiumei knew that it was useless to deny it at this time. In a moment of confusion, she had forgotten about Gu Yanhao's ability. I wanted to drug Song Wuyo to tease her, but I didn't succeed. It's true that she drugged me to make a fool of me. Chapter 153. Gu Yanhao curled his lips. His smile was even scarier than a deadly Azura. Do you think you'll still be alive if I succeed? Song Jiumei trembled. You failed to drug my wife, and now you want to accuse my wife of drugging you. She's the one who drugged me. Song Jiumei glared at Song Wuyo hatefully. Other than Song Wuyo, who else would dare to drug her? Bring him in, Gu Yanhao said coldly. Hearing this, Ade clapped his hands. Not long after, a young man walked in. Song Jiumei's eyes widened when she saw this man. Her body began to tremble. Young Master Gu. The man came in. He did not cower and was very calm. He walked to Gu Yanhao's side and greeted him respectfully. What's going on? Gu Yanhao played with Song Wuyo's hair in his hand. He looked lazy, but his body exuded a dangerous aura. Miss Song gave me a check at the party and asked me to drug young Madam's chrysanthemum tea. Miss Song was too impatient. Before young Madam's chrysanthemum tea was ready, she pulled me to her lounge and drugged a glass of red wine with lemon in it. I went back to the pantry to get the chrysanthemum tea for young Madam. When I returned, Miss Song picked up the glass of red wine on the tray and drank it. The man calmly recounted what happened that day. When Song Wuyo heard this, her clear eyes flashed with a smile. Impossible! Song Jiumei suddenly screamed. That was chrysanthemum tea. How could it be red wine? Miss Song, that glass of red wine was soaked with lemon peel. It tasted sweet and sour, and the color was light yellow. The man looked at Song Jiumei and said. When Song Jiumei heard this, she was like a deflated balloon. She recalled the red wine she drank at that time. It did taste strange. But at that time, she was too focused on Song Wuyo's reaction and did not pay much attention to it. Yup, Song Jiumei suddenly pointed at the man, her face twisted. You'll die a horrible death. You betrayed me. I'm only loyal to young Master Gu. The man indifferently glanced at Song Jiumei. When Song Jiumei heard this, she felt as if someone was strangling her throat. She almost could not breathe. You work for young Master Gu. Mrs. Song glared at the man and asked. Gu Yanhao smiled as he lazily replied, all the attendants in the party are my people. Song Jiumei and Madame Song's expressions changed. When Song Nan heard this, he immediately felt that Song Jiumei had embarrassed him. Now that things had come to this point, he understood everything. Song Jiumei wanted to drug Song Wuyo, but she drugged herself instead. Not only did she embarrass herself, she even tried to frame Song Wuyo. She even dragged him over in the middle of the night. Song Nan was furious. He rushed forward and gave Song Jiumei a hard slap. Pa! Ah! Song Nan was swift and decisive, causing Song Jiumei to scream in pain. This slap was very heavy. Song Jiumei immediately felt her eardrums vibrate, let alone her face. You prodigal daughter. You did something bad, but you still wronged Song Wuyo. The Song family is really unlucky to have a daughter like you. Song Nan pointed at Song Jiumei and scolded. Mrs. Song hurried forward and hugged Song Jiumei behind her to protect her. She glared at Song Nan. Are you crazy? How can you be so heavy-handed? Song Nan was so angry that his face turned red. I'm heavy-handed. I want to trample her to death right now. It's very noisy. Song Wuyo's voice suddenly sounded softly. Chapter 154. As soon as Song Wuyo's voice came out, Song Nan suddenly fell silent. They all looked at Song Wuyo. Gu Yanhao looked at her deeply. Should we chase them away? Song Nan suddenly felt embarrassed. He took a deep breath and looked at Gu Yanhao apologetically. Yanhao, I'm very sorry to disturb you and Wuyo so late at night. Song Nan pointed at Song Jiumei and said angrily, it's all because of this prodigal. I'll teach her a lesson when we get back. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. Song Nan had said so much, but he didn't even look at him. He looked at Song Wuyo with a faint smile. What do you think? Song Wuyo was stunned. Was he asking for her opinion? Song Wuyo's eyes sparkled as she looked at Gu Yanhao pitifully. I'm very wronged. Gu Yanhao raised his hand and stroked her face. I know. I didn't do anything, but they pointed at me and called me a bitch. They even scolded my mother. Then what do you want? Gu Yanhao asked in a low voice. Song Wuyo looked at him faintly. Can I do anything I want? Gu Yanhao smiled dotingly. Of course. Song Jiumei and Mrs. Song suddenly had a bad feeling when they heard this. Song Wuyo frowned slightly. Gu Yanhao's doting smile made her breath hitch. She turned her face away and looked at Su Jing, who was standing at the stairs, and asked softly, Su Jing, how many times did they say the word bitch just now? Su Jing shook her head. Miss, I didn't notice. About 9 times, Gu Yanhao said. He was just guessing and didn't count. Song Wuyo slowly looked up at Mrs. Song and Song Jiumei. Who said the word bitch the most just now? Wuyo, what are you trying to do? Song Nan asked. Song Wuyo glanced at Song Nan. Of course it's to seek justice for myself. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep tonight. Are you going to hit me? Mrs. Song Wuyo glared at Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo stood up and walked towards the mother and daughter. I really want to hit you. Don't you dare. Mrs. Song Wuyo looked like a demoness and was a little scared. Song Jiumei looked at Song Wuyo in a daze. When did she become so scary? Wuyo, they are your family. Song Wuyo stepped forward, trying to persuade Song Wuyo. Father-in-law, would you like to sit down and have a cup of tea with me? Gu Yanhao's cold voice sounded. Hearing this voice, Song Nan's back stiffened. He looked at Song Jume awkwardly, then at Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao raised his chin, crossed his long legs, and looked at Song Nan lazily. When Song Nan met his cold eyes, his heart trembled. He didn't dare to persuade Song Wuyo anymore. Song Wuyo stood in front of Song Jume and Mrs. Song and smiled at them. Who should I hit first? Gu Yanhao suggested, whoever calls you bitch the most will be hit first. That's a good idea. Song Wuyo nodded and raised her hand. Slap. She raised her hand and slapped Mrs. Song's face. Aw. Mrs. Song's face was tilted to one side. She was stunned at first, but she quickly came back to her senses. She jumped up and pounced on Song Wuyo. You bitch, slap. Another slap. Before Mrs. Song could pounce on her, Song Wuyo puffed up her chest and raised her arm, giving her another slap. Slap, 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 slap. Song Wuyo attacked Mrs. Song's face from left to right. She was returning all the bullying she had done to the original owner of this body. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.